Whenever the developer Game Arts comes into the conversation for Sega platforms, most of us think of their Lunar and Grandia series. For many, they were the equivalent to Square's Final Fantasy titles, and a huge reason why we love the consoles they were released for. Of course, Game Arts was responsible for many other games as well, so you likely know the name whether you are an RPG fan or not. Sylpheed was a looker and definitely has its fans, and who can forget the great mech action of Gun Griffin on the Sega Saturn. But before all that goodness, Game Arts developed a Sega Genesis entry called Alisia Dragoon. Teaming up with the animation studio Gainax, this was released in 1992 in pretty much every major region around the world. While not a commercial success, it did get some nice reviews in the media of the era. Seeing this get so much praise made me want to try it out for myself. That led to one of the most unique and interesting journeys I ever had on the old Genesis, and in this episode, I'm gonna share some of that with you. We will be looking at Alisia Dragoon, go over what makes it tick, and see if it's something you want to play for yourself. Hope you guys enjoy my review of Alisia Dragoon for the Sega Genesis. The story here has the evil Baldur and his followers torturing and murdering your father right before your very eyes. He was a powerful magician trying to stop Baldur's evil reign. You are left alive, and now years later you have a chance to avenge your father and finally crush the prince of all things evil. Funny thing is, this isn't explained in the opening at all, and instead you are just left with a brief summary of Baldur returning to Earth and your adventure starting. There is a short cinematic showing you confront Baldur's henchmen as he escapes with his master's unhatched cocoon. The best way to describe this game here is to say it's a mix of run and gun, shoot 'em up, and platforming action. If that sounds complicated, well, it's not, but it does mean you'll need some time with it before you see that ending scroll by. Alisia is a magician like her father, and she controls some powerful, heat-seeking lightning to smite her foes. Your Thunder, as the game calls it, has a standard focused attack and a charged shot that has a wider, more damaging hit range. This is controlled by the gauge at the top of the screen. You need to keep an eye on that Thunder gauge because if it runs out, you can't attack until it recharges. Your Thunder is pretty effective in locking onto enemies and burning them down, but you do need to watch your back. The standard shot does not track enemies behind you. That means you'll need to face your adversaries for your attacks to be effective. Your Thunder can also be upgraded for additional damage. Also up there at the top of the screen are your hit points, which can be expanded through power-ups in the field. Power-ups that can also include invincibility, a fairy platform to help you get to higher ground, and extra lives. Those extra lives are super important because they are the only continues you'll get in this adventure. Alisia also has access to 4 different types of pets that assist her in combat. You get a dragon, a living ball of fire, a raven, and a lizard. These pets attack in various ways and can even protect you, so they are absolutely invaluable during your journey. Beware, however, these pets have hit points, take damage, and can die. You can revive them, but the power-up needed to do so is rare and often difficult to find. Fortunately, there are power-ups for your pets as well. There's food to heal them, they can level up to be more effective, and there's that previously mentioned revive item. The stage design here tends to favor exploration. You'll want to traverse every nook and cranny to find items to help, because you're gonna need them. This is not an easy game, particularly the latter half. There's lots of verticality and off-the-beaten-path pockets, and since enemies return as the screen scrolls, you'll be fighting for every inch you travel. The end of the level brings about a fight with one or more boss-like enemies that must be vanquished to continue. And speaking of continues, like I said, there are none. You run out of lives and it's back to the title screen you go. Alisia comes on an 8 megabit cartridge which allows for a solid looking 16-bit experience. Most areas offer up nice parallax effects, the colors look nice, and you gotta love the variety in the stages. You'll travel across forests, swamps, airships, caves, and a few more biomes as you make your way to the final battle. It's this diversity that is the pillar of the overall quality of the visuals. There are also a few moments of real awe and beauty here, the kind of scene that still nails the best of what made the 16-bit era so special. There are areas that I do wish were a bit more impressive, however. Your sprite is adequate in size and detail, but the animation isn't anything particularly impressive. The same goes for your pets, and the enemies, and the bosses. That 8-megabit cartridge was definitely reserved mainly for stage and enemy variety. By the time this showed up in 1992, we started seeing 8-megabit titles regularly, so while it's a solid experience visually, it's certainly tame next to the best the system can do. In fact, not long after this, 16-megabit games like Streets of Rage 2 showed up, redefining what the Genesis was capable of. Even so, at the time I liked what I saw and it made an impression. This world felt old, but only because it was destroyed once before, fitting the narrative quite perfectly. You can't really ask for more than that when a game's visuals pair so well with its story and gameplay. And in that context, the graphics of Alisia Dragoon were a resounding success. There was always something that I loved about FM Synth when a skilled Japanese developer got behind it. Makano Associates did the music in Alisia Dragoon, and it's a winner start to finish. There's really no need to gush over it any more than that, when I can just let you hear how good it is for yourselves. To really get to the heart of whether Alisia Dragoon is a good game or not, you really need to understand the gameplay and how it flows. If you approach this as a game where your goal is to get to the end as quickly as possible, you're gonna have a bad time. That's because exploration is a mandatory part of the experience. Enemies come at you in waves like this is 3 games in 1. Some come rushing in like it's a shoot 'em up. Some appear out of thin air like a platformer. And some come in bullets and lasers blazing like a run and gun. That means you're gonna need every item in the field to upgrade your hit points, attack, and pets. Without them, this is so much more frustrating. At low power, your enemies take much longer to kill, which leaves you open to taking much more damage. A fair number of enemies love to spawn right beside or near you, leaving you open to constant damage until you know where to be and have the power to deal with them. Seriously, nothing is more frustrating than constantly running into packs of enemies that you simply can't kill fast enough. That means you're gonna want to explore. The best way to do this is by using the full charge of your attack to blast the area around you constantly to see if there is anything hidden. The opening 4 or 5 stages are the easiest in the game, and it's crucial you soak up every power-up, extra life, upgrade, and life replenishment you find. When you enter the final stretch, you want to be prepared for the hardest leg of this race. And that's it. That's what you need to know to make this the best experience it can be. The visuals are good, the music is awesome, and as long as you put a little effort into finding what you need to succeed, Alisia Dragoon is a trip well worth taking. There's really nothing else like it on the Genesis. With so many elements from the most popular genres of that era, it manages to nearly carve out a new style of game all its own. The only area this really needed any changes was maybe a 2-player mode where someone could have controlled the pet. It would have made a nice addition to this otherwise single-player experience. Unfortunately for Game Arts and Sega, Alisia Dragoon sold poorly everywhere. Despite the solid word of mouth, Sega put no real advertising behind the game and it was buried under an avalanche of software released in 1992. It really wasn't until the internet came along that this game finally began to see some attention among the general public. It's not uncommon to see it on best of lists nowadays, and it deserves it. It has a unique feel and the presentation is interesting. Every one of those 8 levels you battle across looks different, and some even have multiple sub-levels. That means there's a lot of meat on these bones, and coupled with the challenge, you are sure to get your money's worth. For those of you that appreciate box art differences, the Japanese version looks quite a bit different from what we received in the West. The anime inspiration is real in this one, while the rest of the world got something out of a Conan the Barbarian comic. It really does make you wish that Game Arts had revisited this world on the Saturn with a 2.5D sequel. Looking at something like Psychic Curse Killer Taramaru, you get the distinct feeling that it could have been something worth playing. If you are already a fan of Alisia Dragoon, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. If you've never played it before but you do like the concept, this is something you simply have to try. It's the best Dragon Pet simulator on Sega's 16-bit console. I'm Sega Lord X, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.